Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. Grateful to have you with us this morning. If you're a repeat listener, we appreciate your time. If you are a new visitor, maybe you just stumbled across our show this morning. A lot of people out there looking for more certainty in their lives and businesses. We appreciate you taking the time. We hope you'll stay with us. We find that a lot of people out there are looking for answers and solutions, and they're looking for ways to enjoy and find and even develop more certainty in their experience. Very blessed today to have a special guest today, Mr. Jim Bland. He's the founder and CEO of Seniors Home Services. They are a seniors care company. They provide remote patient monitoring, chronic care management, remote therapeutic management, a number of different services that are providing better care to seniors all across America. In fact, not only to the seniors, but the providers that serve them. We're going to get into the show today about how they're alleviating much of the workload for these providers, creating more revenue, and most importantly, as I said, providing better care to the patients that they serve. So, Jim, thanks for being on Finding Certainty today.
Patrick, my pleasure.
Well, we've enjoyed getting to know you, and we're really looking forward to this show today, because I think it's a really important topic. A lot of people out there that are getting older and they're wanting to age in place. They're wanting to enjoy quality of life as long as they can. And what you are doing at Seniors Home Services is addressing those needs. It's just fantastic. Now, just so you know, as if you're listening, I always start the show out with two reasons why I've invited this specific guest on my show. I could share just one, but it's my show, and I always have a hard time narrowing it down to just one. So, Jim is a certified aging in place specialist. He serves on the local and national boards of several organizations in the aging in place community, and is a recognized national speaker on strategies, products, technologies that improve the quality of life for seniors and help them remain in their homes for as long as possible. This aging in place movement is really important to the majority of seniors out there. My parents are in their late 70s, approaching their 80s. They plan to stay in their home for all the way to the end, to bring in help if they need it, to add in therapeutic and modalities as needed. But they're one of those seniors out there. They're one of those couples who are wanting to age in place. And so it's the first reason I wanted Jim to be on today, because my parents are just two of millions of seniors who feel the same way. It's a really important topic. Secondly, what Jim is doing and his company is offering, as I briefly explained earlier, is providing a truly win-win-win solution. It's a win for the seniors, a win for their providers, for their staff, for pharmacists and chiropractors and doctors, and the list goes on and on and on. And when you can come up with a win-win solution, there's no losers. There's no winners and losers. It's good for everyone. And I want to listen and I want to learn more. So Jim, maybe tell us a little bit about who is Jim Bland. Where did you grow up? And I know you're in Annapolis, Maryland today. That's where your company is and so forth. But how did you get there?
I'm originally from the general Annapolis area. We're right outside of Washington, D.C., and grew up in this area all my life. Actually, most of my life I grew up on a farm. And on the farm, it was a unique way of life. We did a lot of work. There was never a time that we were sitting inside playing with with our thumbs as far as a electronic device or anything like that. We were outside, we were doing hay, whatever it may be. And I'll tell you, I think we'll talk a little bit about this today, but our population mainly used to do that. And our population was much, much healthier back then. And today we've had lots of lifestyle changes. But in growing up, those were some very, very fond memories. And I played a lot of sports, which did not involve also sitting around playing with my thumbs. So I've been able to be in pretty good shape in doing it. But I've also learned an awful lot about so many people who have not been down that path. And it's one of the main reasons we're in business today. But lifelong Marylander, love where we live in Annapolis. Our offices are next door to the United States Naval Academy. And my wife and I live right across the bridge near the Severn River. So, yeah, Chesapeake Bay, the Annapolis area, love where we live.
Well, it's a beautiful country. As I've mentioned, my parents lived there in Silver Spring, Maryland for about 10 years. My dad ran the big LDS temple there off of the Beltway. And it's a gorgeous country. So much history. I mean, right next door to I know you're in the yacht club there. You've got the Naval Academy there. It's a really extraordinary part of the country. Now, I want to jump back real quick, though, talking about growing up on a farm. My grandfather grew up on a farm. I served a mission for my church in Italy for 2 years and had several companions that I was assigned to. We go out in twos, and the best companions I had were farmers. They were farm boys, right? They grew up with such a great work ethic. They had good values and good. They didn't complain about a lot. they were never the high maintenance companions. I had a few of those too, but I think it says a lot about you and about how you work today. Because I know you work. It seems like you work 100-hour weeks. Probably not quite that much, but I know you're always working to build this company into something great and to serve your clients in better and better ways. And we've been very impressed with that, Jim. So you've been a Marylander all your life. Did you end up going to college or military or anything like that before you got into your career?
I did not. I was in an age group where as I was coming of age, Vietnam was just winding down, and graduated from high school in Largo, Maryland, and went to St. Mary's College of Maryland, which is in the southern part of Maryland, and rather rural area, on the water. Many fond memories there. As a matter of fact, my wife and I met there as sweethearts in college. I'm a very, very good husband today. I could have been a much better boyfriend back then, but that's a whole other story. We all, right? Have been an entrepreneur really since graduating from college, with largely amount in real estate, land development, building and moving into the inspection world and moving into the environmental laboratory and then into marketing, number of different businesses. And I think, the beauty of doing that is it gave me a lot of background and a lot of appreciation for how today we have developed seniors home services. We have just under 2,000 sales consultants throughout the United States that are we support and help them be able to take our value proposition to physician offices, to chiropractors, to pharmacies, to senior living, where we provide a financial opportunity for those entities to be able to do a better job providing care services for their clients who need it. And those are our senior market, a majority of which have got chronic conditions, and we can help. We can help make a huge difference in their lives. So, that's kind of a very short version of how I am where I am. But I will tell you, Patrick, what played a big role in that. was my father was grew up. He was an attorney, great guy, old school, and as he got older, he lived by himself. I lived about 45 minutes from him. And I always worried, is Dad okay tonight? So on and so on and so forth. I bought him one of the little life alert buttons. And he and I had lunch one Saturday at his favorite restaurant, as we always did. And, got him his car, and he drove home. And I was going to go up and see him the next day, late Sunday afternoon. And I called to check to let him know what time it would be by. And he didn't answer the phone. And then he didn't answer the phone. And then he didn't answer the phone. You have that feeling. So I drove up there, and I got to his home. And his car was in the driveway, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I went inside, and he was dead on the floor. And we didn't know. So what that taught me is there was so many different things I could have done probably a lot better in helping him. I didn't know. Nobody knows,
Right.
from the standpoint of being able to. I could have had some equipment in the home that would have told me he would have fallen, because the little life alert button was on his night table where it normally stayed. So
and those only work if you are cognizant to push it, or if you're not unconscious, or like you said, if it's with you. It's a concern for everybody, right? I mean, my parents are aging, and I think your story, I'm sorry to hear about your story, but what a stark reminder of what a need it is, how great the need is, right, for us as we have our aging parents and we are worried about them, being prepared and ensuring that they have the best care, the best protections possible, right?
Well, it is. And they're the last ones who are going to ask for it. They don't want somebody to know that they're struggling, because they're afraid. They're afraid someone's going to take away their independence. So they don't want anybody to know that they're struggling. They don't want anybody to know that they've had a fall. They just don't want to know. So, that's why when, and we'll talk about our services as we go, but with our health and wellness coaching services that Medicare will pay for under certain CPT codes, one of the things that we do is we have individuals clinically based that establish a trusting relationship with that senior, so they know, we're not here to take their independence away from them. We're not here to judge. We're here to help, and you can be open and you can be honest, because if you're open, you're honest. We have different products and services and technologies and everything that we can do that are going to help. But if we don't know, we can't help. And
Right.
so, it is. It's just it's a very, very interesting as to how you need to approach that marketplace.
Well, Jim, what I love about what you do is knowing that independence and that desire to stay in their own home and not be too dependent on anyone else, right? That is exactly what you're delivering in many cases through your service, right? You have services, which we'll go into today, that help provide that independence, help provide that confidence and that security. They do need help, right? As our parents get older, as our seniors age, we all, they say the only thing that's guaranteed is death and taxes, right? We're all headed there. And we do decline. But if there are ways to slow that decline or to help hedge against it, who wouldn't want to know what those are, right? And that's exactly what Seniors Home Services is offering. So I want to ask one quick question. You talk about aging in place or as an aging in place specialist. I mean, you are a keynote speaker. You're going to a conference next week in Orlando, I know, and you're one of those keynote speakers as a specialist in this space. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to be an aging in place specialist? What does it take to become one? And maybe maybe the listener is not familiar with that term.
Aging in place, they misnamed it. It should be called thriving in place. Nobody wants to age.
I like that.
People want to thrive, and they want to stay as young as they can, but they want to stay in their homes. It's where they're familiar. It's where they grow up. It's where they have everything that they want to have. The issue we have today is that most homes are not physically structured in such that they can accommodate somebody as they do go through aging. As we get older, the climbing in and out of the climb over tub can be problematic as far as falls being taking place. So it can work very well to maybe going ahead and putting in a walk-in shower, making sure you have grab bars where you should have them, making sure you raise the toilet so you don't have to, it's much easier to get up and down. Make sure you have railings on the stairs. Make sure you have lighting correctly because our eyes change and shadows change. Make sure that the kitchen is being able to accommodate. Making sure you've got maybe some ramps or something outside. There's a whole host of things that go into that. And an aging in place specialist is a course that is offered through the National Association of Home Builders, which is about a 3-day course on what you need to be thinking about for somebody to be able to remain in their home and to make it accessible. So, a lot of people as they go through life, we're going to be using a cane, we're going to be using a wheelchair, we're going to have some ailments that make it very, very difficult for mobility to take place, for vision to take place, and that the home is structured where it's much easier for somebody to be able to live there, stay there, and age in place.
Right.
So that's really the designation behind it. We offer through one of our partnerships the largest network in the United States of home accessibility contractors, meaning that we can have somebody that's all they do is work with home accessibility so they can come out to the home, understand the unique nuances of that senior with their comorbidities or with the diagnoses, whatever it may be, and what the longitudinal status of that may look like and what should probably be done to that home and how to do the modifications to that home that are going to allow them to remain there safely, securely, comfortably for as long as possible.
It's even more challenging, and it faces all of us, right? As we grow older, we have to make adaptations and adjustments, but it's even more challenging when you do have a disability. My father, for example, is in a wheelchair, and he needs a lift to get him in and out of the hot tub and the pool and in and out of bed. He has additional needs that make it even more challenging. They had to widen the hallways in a couple of places and things like that to accommodate his wheelchair. And so I'm glad you brought that up because I think it is a concern people have. And as you're serving them, helping them with the chronic care management and the other things we'll talk about today, knowing that there's a resource there of a trusted network that can help accommodate those things, I think is really important. It is a question many seniors are asking these days. So let's get into seniors home services. We're excited about what you're doing. We have a national network of affiliates and many of them have expressed interest in being a part of your growing network. You talk about just shy of 2,000 sales consultants across the country. Well, it was about 1,500. It seems like last week, right? It's growing quickly as more and more people are learning about what Seniors Home Services is doing and wanting to get the word out to providers and seniors and so forth. So maybe just give us a little background on the company and how it came into being, and then we can get into what you do.
It came into being back during the pandemic. My partner and I had a marketing company, and one of our clients was a very, very large home improvement company. And they're up and down the East Coast, and they wanted to increase the number of bathroom modifications they could sell. And that's where you go in and one day you remove the old climb over tub and put in a beautiful walk-in shower. And I said, well, you know what we really should consider is the aging in place market. And they said, the aging in what? So I explained that could be a good opportunity. Well, as I started working through the biz dev side of it, learned that, you really need to be in the medical side of it to get connected with the seniors and to do this and do that. And got involved in a lot of things and was meeting with them one day, and they said, oh my gosh, this is turning into a huge business. This is an entity in and of itself. We're a home improvement company. That's what we want to focus on. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, how about if I take it and run with it? And founded Seniors Home Services in May of 2021. We serve the entire United States. And Patrick, it has been a situation that has naturally evolved through being very, very, very fortunate to have people who associated with our core company team and the high quality people I was able to attract. And then being connected with the right people in the right places and learning how the medical industry worked and how we would be able to play a role not only in the modifications of the home, but also being able to have providers and partners that could provide services remotely to people in their homes that would help keep them in their homes longer. And that Medicare and payers and different sources are happy to pay for those services for chronic care management, remote patient monitoring, those type of things. But at the end of the day, it's health and wellness coaching with a clinical aspect built into it. And it's just, it has evolved. No other way to put it. And today it is taken on a life of its own as far as the growth of our sales consultants and the great positions that they can have, the difference that they can make in their communities, the difference that they can make for a physician and a chiropractor and a pharmacy and senior living. So it's been a very, very, very rewarding journey.
As we have gotten to know you, I have to say, and it's a shout out to you and your team, that we've been very impressed with the quality of the team you've assembled and the quality of the program that you've assembled. We talk about seniors having needs, right? We all have needs, but not only are there the needs to modify the home and seniorize it, as I call it, and make them more accessible, make them more safe and easier to utilize. That's one piece of the pie, but the other piece is making sure that the seniors are getting the care and the management and the support that they need throughout the weeks in between doctor's appointments. And that's really where you're thriving, right? These services that you're providing are helping seniors not just stay in their homes, but thrive in their homes. You say it should be called thriving in place instead of aging in place. And I 100% agree. And that's what they want, right? They don't just want to survive. They don't just want to make it through. They want to live life to the fullest for as long as they can, at as high a quality, as high a level as they can. Well, you touched on the fact that these services are actually paid for by Medicare and other things that make it affordable for seniors too, right? We go out and talk with providers and let them know about your service. And we don't have to tell the doctor it's going to cost them something to start doing this and sharing it with their patients. We don't have to tell seniors that they're going to have to go into their pockets for this. Medicare is looking for ways to help improve the health and the lives of seniors. They know that if they do that today, it's going to save them billions of dollars tomorrow, right? And so it's bipartisan. It's not something that doesn't matter who's in the White House. This is a really important topic, whoever is in the White House. And the funding is available to help pay for it. We're coming up on our break here in a minute, but maybe before we go to break, you could just give a 10,000-foot view of the main services that you're offering that are making this possible. I know there's remote patient monitoring, remote care management and chronic care management, and then your extraordinary app, the brain health app, which is called Sarah Skills. Maybe you can give us a 60-second overview of each before we have to go to break.
Well, when you look at the chronic care management, remote patient monitoring, it's data. And when we talk to a physician, we ask the physician, what are your two biggest challenges with patients? And they will tell us with their elderly population, I have no idea what goes on with my patients outside of my four walls, in between my 14.5-minute visits I have with them, when they're on their very best behavior. And if I could get my patients to make minor adjustments in their lifestyles, their health, their well-being, their happiness, their longevity would be profoundly improved. So we have a whole host of services that do exactly that for someone in their home, which results in about a 65% reduction in ER visits, reduction in falls, reduction in hospitalizations, ceasing to be obese or overweight. We can actually reverse chronic conditions that somebody may have. And when we come back from break, we can kind of start with the landscape of where we are today, how we got there, but how we can turn that clock back and how we can improve that for everybody moving forward.
I think that's a really important point, because so often we feel like there's nothing we can do, right? Where I'm overweight and I'm never going to lose that weight, or I have diabetes and it is what it is. I've just got to deal with it. Or I'm borderline, or even pre-dementia, pre-Alzheimer's, these things that we think are irreversible, and yet technology is extraordinary. Technology has come a long ways, right? And there are services that we know can help not only make it easier, but actually reverse the process in many cases. So, it sounds almost unbelievable, right? But as we'll get into in the last half of the show today, it is absolutely manageable. There can be enormous differences made, and it can really, truly accelerate the quality of life for the seniors that we care for so much. And there's about 12,000 a day turning 65. Is that the numbers, Jim?
We currently have 64 million that are actually on Medicare, and we have about 12 to 13,000 per day that are joining.
Incredible.
Patrick, we simply do not have enough medical providers to provide services for the people that need to have services provided. Having the remote care and taking measures to prevent them from having to have the amount of services that they've had to have in the past from an acute standpoint or emergency, whatever it may be, is clearly the solution. And at the end of the day, it saves the federal government money, it saves insurance companies money, and it provides a much, much, much higher quality of life for people.
That might be the most important part, right? We are up against...
It's all about the patient and the quality of life.
For sure. We are up against our break. We'll be right back. Going to take a minute for you to look at our advertisers and for them to look at you. We're visiting with Jim Shore from Seniors Home Services. We'll be right back in just a minute. Don't go away. All right, we're clear. We're still recording on the YouTube, Jim. So I wanted to say something about your career, your past leading up to what you do today, because I think it's important that you haven't just been in healthcare your entire life, or you haven't just been in Medicare services or insurances or one specific field for many, many years leading up to where you are today, because, that's not my past. I worked in real estate development, raised hundreds of millions of dollars for a big developer in Utah. I've worked in mortgages. I've worked in hospitality. I worked in home improvement. I mean, parallels there. It's kind of interesting, but I think having that breadth of experience actually makes you a better entrepreneur and business owner, whatever your space, right? You've decided this is a space to be in, and I think it's a good choice. But I think having that variety of experience makes you a better business owner than you would have been without it. Would you agree?
Well, I absolutely would, because you learn that it's, I don't care what business you're in. There's some very basic parameters and elements that you need to follow in doing it. And I am a very, very, very strong proponent of being able to do what I call reverse funnel marketing. And it is having the right products, having the right support, having the right plug and play, and then being able to dissimulate that.
All right, sorry to interrupt. Coming back in 10.
We're coming back.
You're listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
Well, if you're watching the YouTube video, you'll see I'm wearing a tie today. I told Jim I only dress up for the very important guests, my VIPs. A little bit of a joke. I don't normally wear a tie, but I did want to dress to impress, I guess. As we've been getting to know Jim and his team, we've been really impressed. We were talking on the break, if you watch the YouTube version of this, that I think his background in a variety of areas, from marketing to real estate development and so forth, is really important and has been leading up to what he's doing with Seniors Home Services today. And what you'll learn if you've been in business for a long time like he has is that there are principles that are consistent and that apply no matter your industry. Right? You can be a roofer, you could be a dentist, you could be a seniors expert, or like Jim is now, but the principles remain the same, right? Marketing principles are oftentimes similar. Work ethic. I mean, we talk about growing up on a farm, et cetera, et cetera. Surrounding yourself by good people, realizing that you don't have all the answers, and learning how to delegate. And so, obviously, you're doing that, Jim. We see it every day interacting with your team, but I think it's important. We draw from our experience, we draw from those around us, and we turn it into something good. And yet, we're constantly improving, even after years and years in business, right? Isn't it true? We're constantly reassessing and recalculating, making mistakes even, and addressing them, hopefully failing forward when we do, picking ourselves up and reassessing and moving forward. And so we see that in you and your team. And I think it's one of the reasons why you're succeeding at the level that you are and why you're attracting so many people like us. So, let's move on. I could talk all day about Jim Bland, but we want to talk about what you're doing.
Let's talk about something far more important, about how we help people.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Let's jump into the remote patient monitoring and the chronic care and what that is exactly, how it works. We mentioned earlier that we share this with physicians. There's no cost to them. It's paid for by Medicare. When they share this with their patients, it actually removes workload from their staff's plates, which they love. We know how busy they are. And it will actually create revenue for the physicians as well. But do you mind getting into that a little bit more? Just what it is that we're providing the patients first, and maybe then some of the benefits to the providers. I'm sure there's doctors and therapists and chiropractors and pharmacists out there that are listening that may be intrigued in how they could help their patients in this way as well.
Well, I think we need to first look at how we got here. 50 years ago, 55 years ago, 6% of our population had chronic illness. Chronic illness being blood pressure problem, weight problem, cholesterol problem, sugar problem, diabetes, COPD, cardio, whatever it may be. Today, over 60% of our population has chronic illness, meaning that they have a diagnosis of a blood pressure problem, a cholesterol problem, a diabetes disease, or pre-diabetic. They have a cardiovascular, they have COPD, they're overweight, they're obese. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And we got there for a lot of reasons. We got there because of lifestyle of people not eating correctly, people not exercising correctly, And we also have a epidemic taking place of the amount of people getting dementia and coming down with Alzheimer's. And part of that is, back in the day, we'd go to the gym and we'd exercise our arms and our arms would get bigger and so on and so forth. Well, people don't realize we can exercise our brains too, which can prevent those type of things from occurring. So,
Right.
what we need to understand is that, today, 75% of our population is either obese or overweight. And when we look at that and we look at the chronic conditions and we look at what people are living with, left unattended, those just get worse and worse. They result in hospitalizations, ER visits, people having to go into long-term care, people having to watch their life savings being eaten up by trying to have care provided to them for things that were all preventable or reversible. So, today, when we look at athletes, let's just say golf, Tiger Woods. I think we all can agree Tiger Woods is a pretty good golfer. I think we can all agree that Tiger Woods is probably one of the better ones that we've seen. But Tiger Woods has a lot of coaches. Tiger Woods never would have been and never would be today as good as he is without having coaches. All athletes have coaches. So
100%.
when we look at what we provide, and this goes back to our physician story. If I could get people to make minor changes. So, you go in for your physician, your appointment for 14 and a half minutes. And when you leave, you just go, yes, doc, I know. I need to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and things are going to get better. About 48 hours or 72 hours after getting home, what has happened? Well, you kind of just, left your own devices, you go back into your old habits. So what we're able to provide is what's called chronic care management, which is having somebody who is remote, who is either by phone or by video or however it may be, communicating with the patient and being a coach and helping that patient understand, what type of chronic conditions they may have, whether we're dealing with heart disease, blood pressure, COPD, overweight, obesity, diabetes, what do we want to accomplish? What are the goals of the patient? And also encouraging them, if we can make these small changes as we move forward, what's going to be the reward? What's going to be the outcome of improving your life and not having all the things happen that you don't want to have happen? What also
Jim,
is very, very important with that.
if I can interject, another piece, real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but another piece of that is that coaching and that checking in we've found is also really important in reducing loneliness, right? Which we know has a direct effect to dementia and Alzheimer's. Statistically, they're proving that. Isn't that right?
Well, you are so correct. And as a matter of fact, that is another epidemic that's taking place today. 43% of seniors purport to feel lonely and isolated. Lonely and isolation increases the onset of dementia by 50%, increases the onset of heart disease by 39%, and is as dangerous and unhealthy as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So it is critically important that somebody has that remote companion. They've got somebody who they feel like, hey, they can talk to. I will tell you, we have had situations where we've had somebody who was getting admitted to the ER every single week. And she had a lot of health issues, but was going in every single week and then getting released. And so we took her over with our partner and found that, well, Mary, why is it that you're calling the emergency team and going in every Sunday evening? Well, because I got lonely and I wanted to go see my friends. That's and those are expensive visits
Right.
to our health system. So you're so right, though. Overcoming that loneliness and isolation, preventing anxiety, preventing depression, that all those that go with it are huge impact. In the chronic care management, we refer to it as health and wellness coaching. that takes place. Somebody has to qualify for it to be paid for by having 2 or more chronic conditions, which a vast majority of our elderly population does have. So that works well. The second part, though, is when we talk about remote patient monitoring. Patrick, that is a matter of understanding what may be going on with someone's vitals, with weight, with the scale, with blood pressure cuff, pulse oximeter, with oxygen levels, glucometer, and if we know that type of information is coming in and we go, whoa, things are heading in the wrong directions. And if we also know if they're taking their meds when they're supposed to, and if they're not taking them, why, that it's all part of that health management. And what we know, Patrick, the average visit to the emergency room normally started about 10 days before it occurred. Just nobody knew it was starting.
Exactly.
We have the ability to prevent that from happening, and that's a huge, huge savings to our health system.
Well, they say that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Oh, that age-old saying. And if we can head off problems before they happen, provide the support, provide that communication, maybe they just need some coaching on how to administer their diabetes medicine, use their insulin more correctly, or just check their blood pressure, take their medications when they're supposed to, improve their diet. These are incremental changes that can have enormous results. I think of it a little bit from a profitability standpoint. We are a profit consulting firm, and we know that if we make incremental changes in their marketing or their costs, or maybe bundling services or upselling, incremental changes can make significant differences in their bottom line. And it's the same thing, right? It's the same. I talked earlier about how principles are consistent no matter your business. It's the same idea. Let's head it off at the pass. Remember that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and help in these ways. Not only is it smart and will save billions of dollars in the future, but it most definitely will improve their quality of life and extend their quality of life in many ways. So I love it, Jim. It's extraordinary.
Well, Patrick, today, of the trillions of dollars that are spent on healthcare, 86% of it is spent on chronic conditions, and a large percentage of it is spent on the last few years of life. The bottom line is, society and our systems have traditionally been designed that we're providing sick care. We are responding to something that has gone wrong and continues to go wrong with somebody, rather than spending money on or investing money in preventative care and preventing it from getting there, and then providing those ongoing services that will even help reverse it. I mean, if today, if somebody is got a weight management problem, you need some help with that, with doing that. Left to your own devices, all of us are that way. Everybody needs some help in doing that, some encouragement, some guidance, some accountability, and helping them be more cognizant of it. It just makes a huge, huge difference in that outcome of that patient.
Well, I think whatever the challenges we face, we need 3 things to overcome them. Many times we have the desire, right? We know there's a need, we're worried about it, but we don't know where to start, right? That's part of it. Just having a plan, right? Having a roadmap. Secondly, having support, the coaching, the reminders that teach you and train you and help you and will help you down that path. When you have questions, you can ask them. When you hit a sticking point, someone can help you get over it. And then the third piece, I believe, besides having a plan, besides having support, you need that accountability. We all do. That's why we have business coaches. That's why we have attorneys and accountants and spouses to keep us in line, right? To help us stay on track. And I think that the patients are benefiting from all 3 of those. They're benefiting from the plan, the support, and the accountability that comes with it. And that's why it's working so well. Would you agree? Am I out in left field there, or would you agree?
No, you are so right. I'm going to use a very old acronym that many people will understand, and it's AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. You have many people who People don't understand alcoholism should not be looked down upon or anything. It is a physiological, biological disease
Correct.
that some people are predestined to have. And there are many people who said, yeah, I don't want to drink, but physiologically, biologically, there are a lot of things happening that make it very difficult to do that. And left on their own, they probably wouldn't be able to. But if you're going to AA and then you have a sponsor and then you have some support and then you have that, there are a lot of people that it has changed their lives and has given them the ability to accomplish the goal that they want to. When we look at it with coaching and wellness help, it's the same thing. If someone says, I do want to make these changes in my exercise habit. I do want to make these changes in my diet. A lot of times I just don't even know what to cook or what I should do to make it better. And if you have somebody who's helping you do that, it makes all the difference in the world. It's kind of like, going to the gym. The main reason that a lot of people have a coach at the gym that they're paying a lot of money for is not to show them, yes, pick the bar up and do this with it. It's a matter that I have an appointment with my coach, and if I don't show up and get in there to do my exercises, I'm going to hear about it. So, it really is. It's accountability as well. It's encouragement. It's, a partnership in getting somebody to where they want to be.
Couldn't agree more. You made a comment a few minutes ago about brain health and about reversing, certainly assisting and helping with dementia, even Alzheimer's, cognition, balance, memory. These are brain activities, right? And for many, many years, we've thought that these were irreversible. I'm going to lose my memory. There's nothing I can do about it. But we know that technology, science has come a long ways. We know that it can be reversed in ways. Do you mind talking briefly about your Sarah Skills app? I think it's an important part of this conversation. My parents have signed up; they're customers now with Sarah Skills, and I think there's many, many seniors out there who are looking for the answer and the solution that you have available to them, paid for by Medicare. Right? It's extraordinary.
Well, it's because we know so much today that we didn't know years ago. And today, what we do know is that the cerebellum plays a huge role in our balance, coordination, our memory, our emotions, everything that goes with it. The cerebellum is the smallest part of the brain, which is comprised of about 10% of its volume, but contains over 75% of the neurons, which are just consistently firing and firing. And it is the brain's brain. It is, for me to take my pencil and pick it up and move it, I don't even think about that because it's the cerebellum that has taught me how to do that. Riding a bike is the same. But what happens, Patrick, as we age and we slow down, the cerebellum deteriorates. And as the cerebellum is deteriorating, the firing of neurons and the stem cells and everything else, our memory is not what it used to be. Our balance and our coordination ends up not being where it was, which gives the propensity to fall. And our cognition, that's all part of it, ends up going through decline. And what we know through science now, there are specific activities and programs that can be done about 10 minutes a day following the app with the avatar that will improve the cerebellum through cerebral stimulation, will improve those stem cells, will improve those functions. We can increase balance by 76%, increase memory by 30, 40, 50%, literally turn back some decline in cognition, but more importantly, prevent it from occurring. It is absolutely incredible. Medicare recognized and credentialed the program. It is able to be paid for seniors who qualify under Medicare Part B. And it is just a tremendous program for preventing falls, from preventing loss of cognition, from preventing loss of memory, and just having an overall much, 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 much better quality of life.
Oh, there's a word it's a big word, but it's neuroplasticity, right? And my understanding is these exercises help improve that flexibility, that neuroplasticity of the brain, of the cerebellum. And what's interesting to me is that I've come to learn that most patients who use this app only use it for maybe 6 or 12 months because they see the progress happening. Until that progress stops, Medicare will continue to pay for it. But they get to a point where they don't need it anymore, right? It's taken them as far as it's going to. But it's all through analytics. They see what's happening. They see the tracking and the improvement. And correct me if I'm wrong, but these are exercises that someone can even do if they have limited mobility, if they're in a wheelchair, a walker. Some of these things, the exercises are still doable. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. We have a low impact version where somebody can literally be seated the time that they're doing it. And you brought up a very good point. It's all a matter whether it's chronic care management, remote patient monitoring, the coaching, the SARE skills, is it clinically appropriate? We have a good health system and Medicare being able to provide the care, and our insurers being able to do it. It should never, ever be abused and never, ever overutilized. And so, that's a very good point. You want to be utilizing services such as SARE skills so long as it's clinically appropriate and you're documenting that it's providing service. So in normally 6 to 12 months, the beauty about the cerebellum is that the lasting effects are very, very, very long time. You and I learned how to ride a bike many years ago. Maybe we hadn't been on a bike in a while. You hop back on it. You didn't have to retrain yourself how to ride the bicycle. That was your cerebellum remembering the balance and doing that as
Correct.
It goes forward.
Well, Jim, we are quickly approaching the end of the show. We've just got 3 or 4 minutes left here. Do you mind touching briefly on the benefits to the providers? I know there's many out there who could participate in this, and I think the providers are important because they work with the patients, they work with the seniors. They can help get the word out about these services, whether they're a physician or a chiropractor, a pharmacist, a senior home care specialist, or whatever the case might be. Touch briefly, if you can, on the benefits just in the last couple of minutes here to them, because I know there's many of those in our listening audience.
Well, today most providers are just overwhelmed. I mean, the practices are as busy as they can be. The providers are as busy as they can be, popping from patient to patient to patient. The staff is extremely busy. And as a matter of fact, there's a whole lot of burnout that takes place. And a lot of practices don't realize that the codes for having chronic care management and remote patient monitoring are available, and that they can contract with a credentialed, approved, clinically appropriate licensed entity that can work as a contract entity with that practice and be able to help those patients. In doing that, what that does, it helps the doctor have much better visits with the patient that are more productive because they've got a lot of data that goes on what's been happening with the patient outside my 4 walls. Right. And for the staffing, there's a lot of things that we're able to do that calls that would not have to necessarily keep coming into the practice. And because the physician and the staff is also providing activities with the continuation of care with those services, they're able to also have administrative services fees that they're earning through CMS or through other payers for providing the services. So it is a way for the practice to be compensated for things they're doing right now that they're not getting compensated for, lessening the workload on the staff, improving the outcomes of the patients. Everybody wins.
That's right. As I said, truly a win-win-win opportunity for all involved. If you know a senior, if you are a senior, if you know a provider who would benefit from this program, we encourage you to go to certaintyfreedom.com. It's a website we've set up that can provide information for this. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us at 888-684-3122. That site, Certainty Freedom, it'll be available this week. We're just getting it set up, but we'll be able to provide answers to these and links to these services. If you have any questions for Jim, let us know. We can get you in touch with him. And Jim, we really appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you so much for taking your time. I know you're busy, but what you're doing is so important, and it's making such a difference. And on behalf of all of our listeners and on behalf of seniors everywhere, thank you for making this possible for people.
Well, Patrick, absolutely my pleasure. I am rather impassioned on what we do, and I know we only had an hour. I could go on for hours about the difference we make. But thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for everything that Certainty is doing as well. Really appreciate it. You guys are a great partner.
Absolutely. Greater Certainty is out there. If you're listening, you can find it. We can help. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. All right. We're still recording. I'm still recording on the YouTube video. Looks like Jim dropped off. But, at Certainty Management, we are constantly looking for ways to improve quality of life for our clients, what we call certainty, right? We believe that one of the best ways to do that is through profitability, through helping you make more and keep more. So if you're a medical provider, this is most definitely a way for you to make more, create more revenue, but also to keep more of your time and your bandwidth and your staff's abilities and really their, I say their bandwidth is probably the best word. Keep it free to focus on those patients that are present, that they're on site, that maybe have the most pressing needs, etc. So often these medical practices, and you know this if you are one, they're overwhelmed, as Jim said. They're extremely busy. They're dealing with patients that are visiting and have appointments, but they're also getting phone calls from patients with questions, that oftentimes the same questions over and over again. Many of these questions and much of this workload can be taken off their plates through Jim and Seniors Home Services benefits, through the services that they provide, through this remote patient management and monitoring, chronic care management, through the Sarah Skills app, through the other services that they provide. There's more coming. We've heard about services for ADHD and other things that could help, that are really quite remarkable. As science and technology continues to progress, we're getting better at what we do, or certainly what we can do. We've got to get the word out that it exists. We've got to get the word out that these benefits at no cost to our seniors are available and waiting for them. So, as I said, you can go to our website, certaintyteam.com, but if you go to certaintyfreedom.com, it will drive you to a page specifically focused on this. As I said, we're setting it up. It'll be available by first of next week. You can go to certaintyteam.com. You can call us at 888-684-3122. Let us know what questions you have. If you are, or you know, a provider of any kind that's providing healthcare or Medicare-related services, it could be an insurance broker that works with Medicare patients. This can be an opportunity for them as well. It can be an opportunity to bless their patients and customers, and to also bless themselves with an additional revenue stream that's paid for by Medicare, and everybody wins. As Jim said throughout the show, the most important part is elevating the quality of life for our seniors that we care so much about. Many people don't know where to start. They're concerned, they're worried about their parents, their friends, their neighbors, but they don't know where to start. They don't know truly how to help them. There's amazing people out there who are trying to do so, checking in on their senior friends and family members and so forth, but they need help. And this service can provide that help. It can be a great blessing in these seniors' lives, improve their quality of life, free up bandwidth for the provider so they can give better service, maybe spend a little bit more time with each patient who does come in. They can provide a higher level of service to their patients on a daily basis as well. So in the process, everybody wins. Anyway, we do look for opportunities like this here at Certainty Management and the Certainty Collective, what we call the Collective. It's made up of Certainty Management, Certainty Global, and Certainty Holdings. This is one of the most extraordinary that we have found, this offering that Jim and his team are providing at Seniors Home Services. So I'm glad he was able to be on with us today. I hope you let us know what questions you have. Again, you can call us anytime at 888-684-3122. We look forward to answering your questions, serving you and the seniors that you care about well. I wish you the very best. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.